Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest Mike Lee, and he's here today to share with us his new single, The Heat. Recording artist and mixed martial art trainer, Mike Lee has released a new epic music video for his single, The Heat. This song features the band Vondi, which is a Canadian-American music and production duo consisting of Stephen Von Haking and Cody Norris. So let's welcome to the show, Mike Lee.
Yeah, hey, it's great to be with you.
And what a pleasure it is to have you here. My goodness. So you're a guy that does a little bit of everything, and you do it very well.
Well, I do wear a lot of hats, and, I think that a lot of my life growing up was just figuring out what I wanted to be when I grew up, and now that I'm growing up, I've figured out that I really still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, so I've just kind of kept doing a lot of things, and I'm really blessed to be doing things that I love to do and have a career doing now.
Well, and so for our listeners that are new to you, you're a mixed martial artist, right?
Yeah, so I train mixed martial artists at my home in Indiana. I run an MMA gym alongside of my uncle and my wife. My brother's involved, and we have upward of 300 members teaching Muay Thai kickboxing, boxing, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I travel the country coaching fighters, and that's a passion of mine that I've had for a long time, and it's amazing the journey that the Lord's brought me on with that. And I never thought that I would be where I am with that, or that it would be used to empower people the way that it's being used right now.
Well, why don't you share a little bit about how you even got into that? Because I think a lot of people would find that very fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I think growing up, I grew up in a single parent home. It was my father, and I had three brothers beside myself. And so I often have joked with people that I started fighting with my brothers over remotes, and then we just kept fighting even when the remote wasn't there. And so that's a situation where we were always wrestling around the house, and all that was going on. And as we grew up, the natural progression into martial arts happened. We loved it. Me and my brothers would go to practices. We would train. We'd come home, and we would train with each other in the house. And it was some kind of form of camaraderie. And I remember I went away to college, and I was away in college. I had some internships. I was leading worship and doing some different things in college. And one of the things I did in college was I started a club called Missions and Submissions, which was why ever we're talking about this right now, which was a group of mission-minded people getting together to do submission wrestling. And so it was just 5 or 6 of us would get together and wrestle. But I realized it took me getting away from home to realize that bond and camaraderie that I had that attracted me to it. And so when I came home from college, the step into really getting involved training with my brothers and training folks was a very, very a very normal thing. It was just coming home and doing kind of what we had learned to do. And on the spiritual side of all of that, I do remember training and being young and fighting. And I remember when I encountered the Lord, I had given my life to the Lord, and I had started to set things down and be like, well, what are the things that I'm putting down? I put down a bunch of influences in my life that I felt like were not healthy, and were not my wife is now needing me to do something for. So one moment. All right, I'm back with you. So putting down all these things that were not healthy, not good for me, that were influencing me poorly. And I remember really praying and being considerate about fighting and what it was in my life and what it caused in my life. And after a lot of prayer, I felt led to this idea of like, okay, this is an okay thing. And praise God that it being an okay thing led to it being a good thing. And down the road, me learning how to empower people with it. And so that's what has brought me to the place that I'm at right now.
Well, what an interesting journey from going from wrestling with your brothers to becoming an MMA trainer. My goodness. I mean, most people look at that and it's like, you guys probably were pretty intense in your wrestling.
Yeah, we were. And so I have a twin brother beside myself, and then I have a brother who's 2 years older than me, and another brother who is 6 years older than me. And so the way that the fights always went when we were around the house was typically my twin brother would kind of like I don't know, he could get kind of angry, and I always kind of played it cool. And my oldest brother liked to play us against each other. So he would instigate stuff and get us all riled up, and he, could turn us loose on each other, but always kind of jump in and stop it before it got too crazy. When we were kids, and but all of us, including my oldest brother, knew not to mess with the middle brother because he was, I don't know. They say something about the second child, and I don't know if that's true across the board, but I think it was in my household. And my middle brother was kind of the problem child. So nobody messed with him because he always just had an extra gear. So that is what it was when we were around the house. Training was just a different thing, though. That's one of the things that was amazing about the martial arts, though, was that in a house where we had kind of grown up, maybe we had tempers, or where we grew up, actually, fighting was something that we learned to protect ourselves, to take care of ourselves if we were outside. It was not unheard of that fights would happen when we were outside, and so we had kind of learned fighting as that kind of an expression, as just something in life that you do. So you got to be good at it to take care of yourself. But the thing that the martial arts did was it taught us self-control. It taught us respect and discipline, and so it really did transpire into something beyond, hey, I'm mad at my brother, or hey, my brother got me mad at my other brother, and he's playing us against each other. It really became like a way that we spoke to each other. When we didn't have words to say, when we didn't when we couldn't express ourselves, it became like we'd go train, and it was like for some people it's like a long conversation over coffee. For us, training was like that, and we're exploring art, and it became a really beautiful thing for us in our house.
Well, it sounds like such a great outlet, to be able to do that. And then I'm just so curious, how did the recording, because you're a recording artist too, how did the music start coming into all of this?
Yeah, so I've always, I used to try and have a really good answer for this. And the bottom line really is, I don't know. I've always said that the two things really kind of share the same space, that art space where there's a soul tie and there's a need to express. And so music for me, I guess similar to fighting, is like I started doing music because music was in my family. My dad was an old school rebel. He was a songwriter, and he would travel and play in bars and all these things when he was young. And he had a dream to play music, but he had given that up to take care of me and my brothers and to start a family. And so for me, when I knew all those stories, and my dad had a guitar around the house and he would play it, and I remember when I was about 14, I kind of had an epiphany that like, oh wait, like I could learn guitar too. And so I started playing guitar and singing the old songs that my dad would sing, just because I wanted to be like my dad. And so I think for me, fighting likewise was something that we did around the house. And so it wasn't too long after that I had gone away to a camp, and I was away in the summer, and I encountered Jesus, and it changed my life, and it became the reason that I was writing, the reason that I was singing. And I came home, and that really is that tie of when I say that Jesus changed my life, I mean I was headed in one direction, and my mind was full of violence, just my thought process and where I was going in the world, like. So I came home and I got rid of a bunch of terrible music. I got rid of a bunch of stuff that I was watching. I stopped going to parties. I stopped doing all the stuff that I was doing before I had met Jesus, because the conviction of my heart just led me to live pure before him. But that was for me. I really had to consider, is training martial arts, and is fighting something that is of the Lord? Is this something that is good? And when I laid that out, I realized, man, this is something that people are coming. I'm having an opportunity to connect with people, and whether it's somebody who's coming to the mat, or it's somebody who's coming over to the house, or I'm going somewhere. I'm shaking hands with somebody and meeting these people on the mat, and I thought, no, I wouldn't have another opportunity like that to meet these people, to come across, to share this common bond of martial arts or fighting with people. And so on both of those, I would just say they come from the same place in my soul. I think it's just part of who I am. And on the missional and drive aspect, as they've kind of become careers, my goodness, I can't imagine me without training martial arts right now, or without the outlet, empowering people through training martial arts. That's a lot of the big thing for us right now, actually, is that if you think about it, where I am in a gym, I get to see a lot of honest people. They come to me because most of the time when people start training fighting, it's not because they're usually just really, really happy about where they are, is the reality of the situation. And then we'll do a lot of basic level entry fighting type fitness classes, and people will come in with goals to shed some weight. They're lacking self-confidence, and what I get is the opportunity to look people in the eyes and train them with the stuff that works. And I don't hide anything about the way that I feel, about what I believe, about who I am, but I just get to look people in the eyes. And for me, I mean, that's what it's about. That's when I travel and do music. That's what it's about. When I'm at home at the gym, that's what it's about. I will travel 2,000 miles across the country with a guitar and a band to get on a stage to do what I get to do every day, and that's look people in the eyes and tell them what matters.
Oh, you've got to love that, being able. I'm so glad that you shared not only your miracle with us, but it sounds like that's what you're providing for so many people that you come in contact with. You know, the ability for them to have that connection and, find their own miracle.
Oh man, this last year for me has been a humbling, really a beautiful year, and I say that it's been a year of extreme growth. And I think that if I would say more than anything in the last year, I've really been a student, because for us, when you talk about that miracle and sharing that with other people, like, I never thought that I would care as much as I do for people coming through our doors on a regular basis who have a basic, they come in the doors and they have a simple goal that they say, hey, I want to do X, Y, or Z. Like, I want to lose 10 pounds. But when you come into into a gym and you want to lose 10 pounds, most people know that, like, you're fighting more battles than the 10 pounds. There's something that has caused you to say, I want to change and I want to be different. And usually along the way, there are a lot of lies that you battle. There are a lot of insecurities and things that you're confronting. And it took you a lot of courage to walk through the door and say, hey, I want to change. As simple as it is, somebody saying, I want to lose 10 pounds, that might literally be their last stop before they would have taken a much more drastic measure. And that's a lot of the case that we find. And so I love it means a ton to me. Like, it's really a lot of what I live for. When I look people in the eyes and I love them on a daily basis, and all we're doing is we're training them in boxing or Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu. But when somebody stops me on the way out and they say, hey, I can't tell you enough how thankful I am for what you guys are doing for me, and you don't know how thankful I am. To me, I look at that and go, goodness gracious, it's not about me. It's not about what I've done, but that's it. It's about more than training boxing. It's about more than training Muay Thai, just like it's about more than doing music. It's about eye contact. It's about you can teach somebody identity through making eye contact with them, through a smile. You know, you can give somebody the smile of God when you look them in the eyes, and you make them feel like they're worth it, or you make them feel like they're worth more than what they believe, because they're at least worth your time and they're at least worth your eye contact.
Wow, that's very powerful. And it's a very wise perspective too when you look at that, because so many people are carrying so many things, and to be able to see that as people are coming into your gym, realizing that it's a much deeper conversation that's really happening while they're working out and while they're spending that time there.
Yeah. It goes deeper. It's family. It is family in the gym, and our gym at the moment is Lee Brothers MMA, and brotherhood is the foundation. As I said, camaraderie was what drew me to it, and I'm blessed that we get to give that to a lot of people.
With your experience as a trainer and then with music as well, why was bullying such an important topic for you?
Yeah, so we wrote this song, "The Heat," and the song itself is really about creating healthy boundaries in relationships. It's it's a song in a scenario that's realistic to me. That was literally like, hey, this is something that happened in the gym, and I ended up in the studio writing it with the band that I featured called Vondi, and they had just asked me, hey, well, tell us what's going on in the gym. So I started to shoot from the hip, but the concept is really about establishing healthy boundaries in relationships, even in light of grace, that there's a place where in relationship, somebody comes around hitting hard, and it's important to be able to draw a line and say, hey, you can come here and no further. Sometimes that's the healthiest thing for you and for them. And so that's where the song came from. And right away when we finished the song, the idea of bullying was something that we knew we wanted to target in the video, because it is something that I deal with on a daily basis. I train kids, but not even when I train kids. For a decade, I worked in student ministries and would see bullying take form. And I would see bullying take place in a lot of different forms. It was cyberbullying, physical bullying, or if it was literally just emotional, it's the words. But seeing the way that people are impacted by bullying, and not just folks being bullied, but the bullies themselves. There's sadness on both sides. There's hurt on both sides. There's trauma, and a lot of folks are traumatized by it. And so for me, when we finished the song, and it was kind of plain to me in the story of the song, I wanted to relate with folks in a topic that matters, where the song itself has a very fun tone, to relate on something that matters and something that I see a lot. So we hit on bullying, and we hit it in a fun way. So I hope people see the video and ultimately enjoy it. But I think people can connect with the story.
Well, I love the EP. I thought it was fabulous. I mean, it's got some great music in there. Who worked with you on this?
So specifically on the Heat, this is Cody Norris and Stephen Von Haking. They create a duo called Vondi, and they're incredible. This is really the first thing that they've done, but I've worked with Cody on a lot of other things. Cody worked with Ed Cash for a number of years, and that's who I worked on a lot of my previous projects with, was Ed and Scott Cash, who are, I mean, if you listen to a lot of current worship music, you've heard Ed and Scott. They're most connected with Chris Tomlin and David Crowder. They just worked on the new Victory album by Bethel, and they're just phenomenal folks. And they're great. I as well worked with, this was on actually my last EP, but if we're talking about producers, just phenomenal ones, I think Seth Mosley is great. He produced a tune for me called One and Only, and great, super fast in production, and just an amazing hang. I love all the guys that are at Full Circle Studios down there. But one of the things I've been doing recently that I'm looking forward to sharing with folks more and more is I've actually just been working at home here in Indiana with my friend who's a producer and songwriter named Landon Bailey.
Well, that is fabulous. It sounds like you've got a great group of people you've been working with, and I understand that you have some new singles that are going to be released later this year.
Yeah, I'm very excited about those, and honestly, like it's easy, I think, as an independent artist to get in your head with all of the with creating content, with being with relating with people, with trying to tell a story, but not having really a built-in team. You know, a lot of label artists have teams and benefits of people doing tests on songs and testing the audience and readying things for what's coming. But personally, as an indie, I'm really left in a place of saying, you know what, I want to write the music that is on my heart to write and then share it with my friends who are listening. I'm thankful that enough folks are listening that that I can get a good feel for what they're digging. But I'm a little bit, to be honest, I'm a little nervous about these next songs I'm sharing because just the direction of them are very personal, very relatable. I want to tell stories about my wife. I want to tell stories about my kids. I want to tell stories like The Heat about what's going on in the gym and the people in my life. And where I've come from and where I started was primarily as a worship leader. And I'll always have a passion for music in the church. But I'm really looking forward to these next songs. I want to see how people are relating to them. I want to see how people connect with them. And so that has brought me to the place where I am, as I mentioned before, writing with my friend Landon Bailey. It is a passion on my heart at this time in my life to make music with my friends, and that's all I want to do. Like, I'm not interested in a ton of co-writes with people or industry names or whoever it might be. I really, I've been doing this for a little while. I've been loving the journey, but for right now in this journey, it's got to be about the relationships, and I've got to make music with my friends, and I'm making music with my friends for my friends. And so I think The Heat hopefully indicates a little bit of that too.
Well, that seems to be a common thread throughout your journey, connections with people that you're working with at your gym, in your music, and also just how people are connecting to your music as well. I understand The Heat's getting some really great reviews and people are loving it.
Yeah, I'm stoked about it. I'm really stoked about that. And with summer tour coming around, I haven't got to test the song on people live yet. But one of the things I've been really digging is just the reaction to the song from folks within the gym, and from folks, friends from back in school, friends who who I haven't been in touch with, who are reaching out and saying, "Dude, I heard this come up, man. I saw this thing in writing, and that's so awesome." And they'll check it out and they'll share it with a friend. And to me, that always, when I write something that hits with friends who haven't been following my music, and they're like, "Dude, this is dope. I love this. Like, I wanna hear more of this." That to me is an awesome feeling, and it's really awesome. I love to. Everybody's different, in terms of their own music. I know some people, they'll make something and they'll dig it and they'll listen to it until it's dead, right? And then it's like, okay, now it's time to release it, and then they never want to listen to it again. But for me, when I create something with my friends, I can kind of listen to it for a while because it wasn't just me doing it. It's like I made it with my friends, and I listened to something over and over and be like, "Oh man, Cody killed that drop," or like, "Man, that idea was so good." It wasn't just mine, it was I did it with my friends, and like, man, that was really cool. So when I go back, I listen to a song, I remember what it was like writing it, and I love sharing it with folks. And so to this point, I've had a great reaction to it, and folks have really loved it. And they've sent a lot of love my way. I'm excited to get out this summer and tour, and get out to some festivals, and see how that does, because I think it's going to be a ton of fun live.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. Well, Mike, where can people connect with you and learn more about your music and your work and your gym?
Yeah. So I'm all over Instagram. I burned Instagram up at Mike Lee Music. And I'm on YouTube as well. Mike Lee Music on YouTube. I'm on there with my wife as well. We do a little short vlog called Mike and Mish Plus Two that shares just a non-traditional lifestyle between a husband and wife and their 2 kids. My 2 kids travel everywhere with me, and some people say, hey, how does that work? And so we just started to put a camera on it and say, here's some of how it works. And we are on Facebook as well. But if anybody wants to come and hang on Instagram, man, I have tons of fun on Instagram, and we would tear it up. So it's Mike Lee Music across the board, and then that's Lee Brothers MMA on Instagram as well. That is not short of fun either. We have tons of fun with Lee Brothers MMA. It goes a little bit WWE style sometimes.
I bet you guys do. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, total blast. Really humbling to be with you. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new single, The Heat. Thank you for all the great work you're doing in regards to teaching others about bullying. If you'd like to connect with Mike, learn more about the work he does, and of course, to purchase the single, visit MikeLeeMusic.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.